Greetings from the Cheating Story Lab. Share your location and let me know where you're tuning in from. Often, those we trust dearest can cause the most profound hurt. I experienced this harsh truth when my 12-year marriage disintegrated painfully. However, what transpired in the courtroom was an unexpected turn of events. My name is Tyler, and for 12 years I believed I had a flawless marriage with Jessica. We crossed paths in college, created a life together, acquired a suburban home, and climbed the ladder from junior associate to partner at a mid-sized law firm. Meanwhile, Jessica worked part-time as a yoga instructor, nurturing her interest in photography. From the outside, we appeared to have it all sorted out. The first fissure in our seemingly perfect veneer emerged approximately 18 months ago. Jessica began staying late more frequently, attributing it to an increase in clients for her photography business. She arrived home brimming with energy, seemingly radiant, discussing her enthusiasm for fresh creative ventures. I rejoiced in her accomplishments, feeling a sense of pride as she finally found her bearings in her career. In retrospect, the hints were glaringly apparent. The unexpected fascination with fashionable attire, the protective behavior towards her phone, and the cryptic smiles while texting. Yet I had complete faith in her. After over a decade together, one assumes an intimate understanding of their partner. That presumption almost brought me to ruin. The truth emerged in the most predictable manner. Jessica forgot to close her laptop one night and a message alert appeared. It wasn't the content that first piqued my curiosity. It was the sender's name. Michael Chen was familiar because he was married to one of Jessica's old friends, Lisa. They attended dinner gatherings at our home. I played golf with Michael. The communique was concise but crushing. Excited to meet you tomorrow. These clandestine meetings are no longer sufficient. As I perused their messaging history, my fingers trembling. Months of messages, images I longed to erase from memory, arrangements for weekend escapes when she insisted she was visiting her sibling. The deception gouged deeper with each word I digested. The argument was intense. Jessica didn't attempt to dispute it when I presented the evidence. Instead, she counterattacked, asserting that our marriage had been lifeless for years, that I was preoccupied with work to perceive her requirements. She stated Michael rekindled feelings in her, made her feel vibrant, cherished, desired in ways I never did. "This is your fault, Tyler," she said, her voice icy and strategic. "If you were the partner I desired, this situation would have been avoided." That evening she gathered belongings and departed. 3 days later, divorce documents arrived in my hands. The initial months were gloomy. I immersed myself in work, barely ate, struggled to rest. Loved ones and companions tried to help, but nothing eased the anguish of deceit. Worse still was learning through acquaintances that Jessica and Michael had become public with their relationship, sharing images on social media, portraying themselves as a romantic epic instead of the outcome of two fractured unions. The divorce process began amicably. We'd hoped for mediation to keep matters straightforward. I was ready to be magnanimous regarding the settlement, wishing to avoid court battles over personal affairs. However, Jessica had other ideas. 2 weeks before our mediation session, her attorney communicated a fresh list of requirements to mine. She desired the house I had made a down payment on, the house where I undertook self-renovation of the kitchen for 2 years. She sought half my retirement savings, half my accumulated funds, and surprisingly, she demanded $4,200 in monthly alimony payments. Her rationale being that she relinquished professional opportunities to foster my aspirations, and thereby compromised her income potential during our marriage. Ignoring the fact that her part-time work was by her own choice, or that I had backed her through 2 unsuccessful business endeavors and multiple high-cost photography equipment acquisitions. She asserts that I have a greater earning potential, and she requires financial aid to sustain the lifestyle she's accustomed to, my attorney Patricia clarified over the phone. It's excessive, particularly considering the context of our marital dissolution, but the sting came when Patricia elaborated further. She is also alleging emotional distress. Her attorney claims that your work-obsessed habits and emotional detachment led her to seek affection elsewhere. They aim to depict her infidelity as a response to your negligence instead of an intentional act. I was enraged. Not only had she betrayed us and dismantled our marriage, but now she wanted me to compensate for the opportunity. The days leading to the trial were fraught with tension. Jessica had moved in with Michael, and according to mutual acquaintances, they were already discussing marriage. Meanwhile, I was confronting the possibility of losing half my possessions and providing financial support for their blossoming new life together. The day of the trial arrived gloomy and damp, mirroring my spirits exactly. The courthouse, An intimidating brick structure made everything seem more severe, more irreversible. I met Patricia in the lobby and we went over our plan one last time. "Bear in mind," she remarked, "our case holds proof of the affair, chronological records, and fiscal documents illustrating your individual investments into marital property. The judge will take account of her infidelity when determining alimony, particularly in our no-fault state." Upon entering the courtroom, I spotted Jessica directly. Dressed in a modest navy blue dress with minimal makeup and her hair pulled back professionally, she played the part of the wronged spouse seeking equitable compensation. Michael remained in the gallery behind her, offering unspoken support. However, I recognized someone else. A woman I'd briefly met at a dinner gathering long ago, Lisa Chen, Michael's wife. She was seated on the opposite side of the gallery, dressed sharp in a black suit, holding a manila folder. The proceedings started routinely. Jessica's attorney, a formidable figure named Hamilton, portrayed a loyal wife who forsook career growth to promote her husband's aspirations. He discussed Jessica's photography business as if it were a flourishing endeavor I had inadvertently undermined due to my hectic schedule. "Your Honor," Hamilton asserted, "Mrs. Peterson devoted the prime years of her life to this marriage. She is entitled to compensation that acknowledges her efforts and enables her to reestablish her life with dignity." During Jessica's testimony, she played her role flawlessly. Tears at strategic intervals, a tremble in her voice when describing feelings of loneliness and neglect. She portrayed herself as a woman compelled to extreme decisions by an absent spouse emotionally. "I never meant for this to occur," she said, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. However, Tyler was seldom home. When he was engrossed in case files or checking emails. I felt unseen in my own marriage. The turning point came when Patricia questioned Jessica about the sequence of her relationship with Michael, at which point Lisa Chen rose from the gallery. The action was barely noticeable, yet captivated everyone. "Your Honor," Lisa spoke, her voice crisp and resolute, "I humbly ask for a moment's interruption as I present evidence pertinent to this case." The judge showed signs of astonishment, but also curiosity. Jessica paled, Michael seemed to yearn for the ground. "Step forward," the judge commanded. Lisa advanced with an air of determination, having prepared for this moment for months. She passed a manila folder to the judge, who perused its contents in growing amazement. "Madam," the judge said, "you, aware that I am not a party in these proceedings?" Lisa affirmed. "However, my husband is the third party in this adultery matter, and I believe this evidence is vital for assessing the veracity of Mrs. Peterson's allegations," she explained. The judge scrutinized the documents for additional minutes, all the while the courtroom remained hushed. Jessica frequently cast apprehensive glances towards Michael. The judge eventually declared, "I will admit this evidence." Turning to face the courtroom, Lisa spoke with composure and professionalism. "Your Honor," she began, "I have submitted a comprehensive timeline detailing my husband's affair with Mrs. Peterson, complete with financial records such as gifts, travel expenses, hotel bills spanning over a year, emails found on our shared computer, text message exchanges from my husband's phone, and photographs obtained by private investigators 6 months ago." She paused momentarily, allowing her words to resonate. "Mrs. Peterson alleges she was compelled into this affair due to loneliness and indifference. However, the evidence points to a deliberate relationship that involved considerable financial outlay on my husband's part. $300.5 a night hotel rooms, purchases of jewelry exceeding $8,000, weekend excursions to vineyard regions, and frequent high-priced dinners," Jessica's attorney argued, but the judge disregarded his objection. "Continue, Mrs. Chen." Moreover, Lisa stated, "The text messages reveal Mrs. Peterson actively courting my husband instead of the reverse. She initiated contact, suggested private meetings, and clearly expressed her intention to abandon her marriage regardless of Tyler's behavior." Lisa flipped to a specific page in the folder. In a text message from 8 months prior, Mrs. Peterson wrote, "Tyler cannot give me what I desire. He is too monotonous, too predictable. I crave adventure, passion, someone who values me," she continued. "I want you to leave, Lisa, so we can begin anew." The courtroom filled with murmurs. Jessica was now visibly sobbing, not out of tactical reasons, but because she was witnessing her intricately woven story crumble in reality. The judge demanded order and took a moment to thoroughly evaluate the recently submitted evidence. Upon resumption 30 minutes later, the entire room's ambience had transformed. "Mrs. Peterson," the judge said coldly, contrasting his previous tone, Given the evidence presented by Mrs. Chen, I find your claims of emotional distress and reasoning for seeking companionship elsewhere to be inconsistent with the documented facts. The evidence indicates a planned infidelity involving substantial deception and monetary consequences. Regarding alimony, while this jurisdiction acknowledges spousal support in suitable cases, I cannot grant support to a spouse whose adultery was the major factor leading to marital dissolution, especially when that spouse actively sought the relationship and intended to end the marriage regardless of the other party's behavior. Jessica's attorney attempted to salvage the situation by arguing about her reduced earning capacity and need for transitional support, but the judge was not sympathetic. Mrs. Peterson, you will receive an equal share of marital assets amassed during the marriage minus Mr. Peterson's separate property contributions, which have been clearly established. However, your alimony request is rejected. Additionally, due to the evidence of financial expenditure during your extramarital relationship, Mr. Peterson is eligible for reimbursement for marital funds utilized in the course of an affair. The final settlement turned out to be equitable for me. I retained the house, the majority of my retirement fund, and was ordered to be compensated by Jessica for the money she had spent on her affair, which originated from our joint accounts. There was no alimony, no ongoing financial obligation. Lisa Chen approached me in court afterwards. I hope you don't mind I got involved, she said. I've been amassing evidence for months preparing for my own divorce. When I heard about Jessica's demands, I couldn't stay quiet. Thank you, I replied, expressing genuine gratitude. You probably saved me years of financial strain, Lisa acknowledged. People like them think they are clever, but they leave traces everywhere. They deserve each other, and they certainly do not deserve our money. The aftermath was swift and definitive. Within a week, Jessica had vacated Michael's residence. The public exposure of their relationship, along with Michael's impending divorce, drained the romance from their affair. Initially, I learned that Michael was paying substantial alimony to Lisa and residing in a studio apartment elsewhere. Jessica reached out to me after some time, expressing regret for past errors and seeking counseling. I chose not to respond. Certainly, burned bridges are difficult to rebuild. The lesson I took away is that betrayal often inflicts its own penalties, yet at times, karma requires assistance. Lisa Chen didn't have to voice her truth in the courtroom, but she did so, ensuring honesty triumphed over manipulation. Her courage spared me years of financial hardship and fueled Jessica's next chapter of selfishness. Currently, I am constructing my life according to my own rules. My home now feels tranquil, as if a burden has been alleviated. I've rekindled friendships, embraced hiking, and even started dating once more. In Jessica's case, her unchecked greed and sense of entitlement ultimately led to her demise, as not everyone who betrays us faces swift retribution. At times, the most satisfying form of revenge is allowing individuals to experience the consequences of their actions. Occasionally, if fortune favors you, someone like Lisa Chen will step up in a courtroom and ensure those repercussions are enforced. That's my narrative. Thank you for tuning in. Remember that truth tends to reveal itself, especially when someone has the courage to voice it.